Well, good evening, good evening. Welcome again to a Monday night Airfix and Chill. We've got a full house, which is good. We've got Simon, we've got Brett, we've got Zinzan, we've got Jim, John Alec, and we've got John, Barry, and Ben. Good evening, everyone. Just want to start the show with a bit of a sad announcement. Um, a man who's graced us on Airfix and Chill on a few occasions. He doesn't really post much, but he watches and comments, especially privately with me. Um, if you know that I'm part of a group called the Diecast and Scale Modelers Club, and we do a fortnightly chat on a Sunday night. And there was a chap on there called Martin Dare, and sadly on Sunday morning he passed away. If you know of him, he was very much into restoring diecast cars. He had his own YouTube channel called Martin Dare's Dinky Restoration. He and it predominantly was diecast restorations was what he did on his channel, but if all who knew him will know that he did a lot of just scale modeling. He very much loved his plastic model kits. We used to talk about techniques. He used to do the wooden kits, the book nooks, anything that was buildable with glue, paint, and he would be there doing it. And if you see him on a live stream, he would be there tinkering around with something whilst we'll be chatting about diecast restoration and building plastic models. He's going to be very, very missed indeed. His knowledge, if when it comes to things like matchbox cars, dinky cars and stuff, his knowledge was very vast. And there's a hole in that community where he once was. There will be a live stream on Wednesday on the Diecast and Scale Modelers channel. As I said, he was very supportive of me. In fact, when I first went to the group, because a lot of them were diecast restorers, me and him got on really well because he wasn't just that. He was a scale modeler, old school, proper chap, scale modeler. And even though he concentrated on his YouTube channel with diecast restoration, which was a good choice because there's so much out there when it comes to plastic scale model kits, if you know what I mean. So to do something a bit different and showing you how to remove the paint, change the axles, how to buy the parts, clean, he was an absolute legend for cleaning up clear plastic. Very, very talented man. And he leaves his wife, and I think they've got 5 sons, I believe.
Wow.
But there will be, as I said, a live stream I think it's on Wednesday night from 9:00, which I'll probably do my members only live stream on Wednesday from 7 till 9, and I'll be jumping on to the DSMC, so to talk about this man. We're going to miss you, Martin. Thank you for all you've done for the community, and our thoughts are with the family at this time. So Hobby Time there says Martin was a wealth of knowledge. There was just nothing, you got to imagine that, back in the day, you had Airfix, Dinky, we're all linked together. Your Meccano, this hobby, even though we've sourced ourselves on plastic and glue and paint, but scale modeling is any medium, really, isn't it? Whether you're building resin kits, whether you're building, metal, and that was a man who embraced everything when it comes to scale modeling. And Yeah, he will be sorely missed. He will be sorely missed. I agree. So, so I'm gonna dedicate this show to Martin, if that's all right with you guys, Martin Dare.
That's fine.
And I thought we would do something because of who he was. You know, it's like we've all of us in the community that knew him was given something from him. You know, because I said I wasn't into die-cast restoration properly until I met him, and one of the things I did do with his help was restore a trailer, which is this one. I restored it. You know, I put it into the mixture, got rid of all the paint, used the tools to get rid of all the bits, and then sprayed it up and restored it to factory fresh. We still call it code 3 though because I've had to do it. But yeah. But if you've known the circles, if you've been around my circles and you see me on other live streams on the DSMC, you would have known of Martin. So, and with that, I thought that we would talk about tonight barriers of the cost of entry into scale modeling. Now, we've talked about the pricing and expense of scale modeling as being a barrier to entry to this hobby, because it's not just about buying the kit, isn't it? You know, there's so many parts to it. And I just thought, I had a couple of people email me over the past few months of questions they'd like to ask, for us to discuss. And so I've written, there's about 6 here that we'll go into, and a lot of it's quite in depth. But so one of the questions was, why does the initial cost of tools and supplies often feel like a bigger hurdle than the price of the kit itself? So when you buy a kit, say you spend £20 on a kit, and you've not done scale modeling before, you can do it at a budget, but you know that there are tools that you will need to purchase, or at least find to do the model, i.e. a knife, to cut the parts off the sprues. You would need some sort of sanding stick or an abrasive to smooth off those parts. And if you see that, some kits don't come with paints or cement, so that could be a barrier. So the question is the initial cost of scale modeling something that you have to overcome to become a scale modeler or to do your first scale model kit? I'll tell you what, I'll go with Mike on this one, because you help people trying to get into scale modeling, don't you? Do you find that they think, you spend this much on a kit, then you've got to spend another 30 quid on paints?
Yeah, I think a big part of that is obviously they start watching videos on YouTube, like Night Shift, things like that, and they're using these really Gucci tools and all this. So they try and replicate. They forget that it's not the tools that make the outcome; it's you as a model. So they try and replicate these tools that can be expensive, not realizing that there's actually a lot cheaper versions that will do you just fine when you're starting out.
Yeah, exactly. Zinzan, have you got a thought on this?
Well, yeah, there's a couple of things really, to be honest. And if you talk about starters, you could perhaps think about adults and then youths. So I've written reasonably extensively on this, but when I think of when I started as a youth, well, I actually didn't need very much, because your dad gives you a kit and a bottle of glue or a tube of glue, and maybe your mother gives you an emery board or something, and away you go. And your first effort will feel like it's really good because you put the effort in, and that's different, but it becomes cumulative from that point forward. So for the second kit, you've got some things that you can use again, because one tube of glue, well, unless you're extremely ham-fisted like I was, one tube of glue will go for more than one model. In fact, it'll go for several. So the next model, you think, oh well, maybe I'll try getting a little knife, or maybe your dad says yes, you can use a knife, but you have to be careful, and so you cut yourself like we all do, and so it goes on. The adult side of it, coming in as an adult, and I can speak from direct experience because although it was a few years ago, it wasn't that many years ago. I spent quite a lot on a model. It was a Mustang, as I recall, a P51 Tamiya 132. So everybody knows how much that is. But I think I spent on the tools about 20 quid for some tools that came in a little plastic box with some bits and pieces. So that you could argue was maybe 20% of the value of the kit, which was not an extensive amount of money, and I could do lots of models with that. I had the things to be able to do the job, to be able to make a neat job. So I had a kind of head start in the sense that I developed the skills at that stage. But it's a cumulative thing. Is the conclusion I would draw, which is that when you start as a kid, as a youth, well, you're not going to need much, but you develop from there and go from there.
There's people in chat.
Yeah, if I sort of think back to when I started, the kit cost 2 shillings and 6pence. You had a tube of glue which you bit the end off, then put a pin in afterwards. And as for paints, you used to buy little boxes of about 5 or 6 files of different coloured paints, and you paint the kit with that. That's how I started.
I think that's the majority started. If you remember my book, the front cover was that diagram I did, the pie charts, wasn't it? And I said back when I started, and I'm going to say, I always say it was 80s, but probably more than the 90s. You buy the kit, you would paint it, and you would decal it, and that was it. Yeah. And now you've got photo etch, you've got resin parts, you've got everything. And I think that's where the problem lies. Is if I was somebody who's watched a couple of videos of, say, people building scale models, or a particular, the fascination with, say, a Concorde, for instance, I would go into a shop and I would say, I'd like to build a Concorde, and then you'd look for a Concorde kit. Unfortunately, some kits will come with the paints and the glues, but the majority don't. What size do I go for? Because I know that Hella do a 1/72, Revell do 1/44, and the Airfix do one, and and who else? And you can get flagged on that straight away, and not knowing how, the first mistake a scale modeler or somebody who wants to build a scale modeler will say is the glue, because in fact the glue doesn't stick plastic together. The cement welds the plastic together. So you got people who will think, oh, I'm just going to use super glue. It doesn't always work like that, so yeah, there's all these intricacies when it comes to buying your first kit. So that could be a barrier, and then you get the kit home, and then how do you remove the parts from the sprue? Or you can wiggle them, but you end up tearing the plastic because the plastic is a little bit soft. Sure. It doesn't just snap off, does it? It kind of just tears, which is interesting for plastic. So you think, well, I need to get a knife. What sort of knife do I need? And then you start watching. You said you could watch a video like from Plasmo and people like that, and think, but when I build a model, it never comes out like that. But that's because they've been doing it for years. When you see people who do marquetry, with the wood and the thin layers of veneers. The first one you do will probably look crap, but as you get in and learn, when you cut how you cut the bloody hell, Ben, how much noise do you want to make?
Am I making noise? Sorry, I didn't think you could hear that.
There's so much noise.
Indeed.
Dragging and banging.
I thought someone was in the hallway.
You learn the ways. You learn the ways to cut wood, and making sure you have a sharp knife. These little things can be a barrier, but once you get over that hurdle, you would, and I think watching YouTube videos is, if I was getting into becoming a mechanic, the first thing I would do is look up for a video saying the basics of being a mechanic and watch a video about the basics, but you don't always get that, do you? And I said, with the price, if you are going to start scale modeling, buy a kit that comes with paints and glues, because I think, and I know they're the basic of paints, but they are supposed to be foolproof, the only thing they don't tell you in these instructions is to water the paints down, which I think is criminal, because you should water those paints down with just water and build up the layers 2 or 3 coats at a time, not just slosh it on in one go. So the next question was, how much does the fear of choosing the wrong first kit, one that's too complex, is it poorly fitting or full of tiny parts, will that discourage a beginner, especially when bad early experiences lead people to quit before they really start? Anyone want to jump on that one?
Can I have a go at that one?
Yeah, go on then, John.
I think it's quite important that if you're a new modeler and you've never built anything before, to ease yourself into it with a starter kit or something very simple. I mean, Barry will know that any of the bag kits from Airfix is absolutely ideal, except for biplanes. But then you'll find yourself easing yourself into tools, getting to use modeling knives. And it's not important to buy all the best kit straight away.
Yeah.
As you said before, you can do stuff on a budget. You don't need jigs, just use elastic bands.
Yeah. Nigel popped in. Any hobby has an initial cost to start. Anyone new can start with a pair of nail scissors, cheap retractable blade knife, and a nail board from the supermarket. I would say that Tamiya Extra Thin is a must. Yeah, it's interesting that we've talked about that. What's that, Joffy? Is that the old nail board?
Get from Boots about £1.
Yeah, or even those little metal files.
Yeah,
the little metal files will do the job as well. I think they're an underrated use.
I bet if you look hard enough in the average household, you'll find a scalpel blade somewhere that your dad used to use to lay carpets or whatnot.
Yeah, I still
use
Mike.
Yeah, go on, Mike.
You can get a lot of tools from local tool shops and stuff rather than going online, because as soon as you type in line modeling tools, you're going to get the most expensive version.
Yeah, definitely. And also, getting the right cement is definitely important. I still think if it push comes to shove, any cement with a needle is a must. This glue in a tub is no joy. And I noticed that Italeri now give you a brushable cement now, don't they? It comes in a jar, and it comes with like a nail varnish brush. That's a good bit. I think the benefits of Tamiya Extra Thin is you've got that capillary action, haven't you? You just gently put it into position, and the cement will go into the groove, into the gap, and that's quite important too. Very important.
Yeah.
6 of 5 said the one exception I would suggest is getting a quality side cutter. But then again, you're talking between a good one between 8 to 10 quid for a good side cutter. And I think a knife is it Phil Flory who uses scissors?
Uses scissors.
Yeah. Or a good pair of scissors, yeah.
It depends if you've got enough room on the screw gates to be able to get a pair of scissors in, because they're quite thick, aren't they?
True.
Yeah. Locks 9 just says there, when I started it, was tube glue and enamel paints. No file, no sandpaper, maybe a sharp knife, and that was it. And yeah, you're right. If you get a starter set or a model set, it would be a good start.
Yeah.
But I think the point trying to be raised is the basics enough to keep you wanting to build a scale model if what you get at the end of it looks bad?
Oh, the other way. I'm the other way, Zen. That way.
No,
I got it. I'm losing it.
Jump in.
The most important thing. It's not tools. It's not kits. It's a genuine love and interest in the hobby.
Yeah.
Go out, buy the kit. If you've got scissors or nail clippers, fine. As long as I started with Tester's tube glue with the orange top. Okay. It doesn't matter. Okay. Just get in, get started. All the books, all the kits, all the tools, all that comes over a lifetime. Okay. To me, that's the most important thing. And you're gonna get the skills that are gonna require the tools and the knowledge, and that all comes later. Just get started, and it doesn't take a lot of money. You go buy your starter kit. I got the cheap kits. I had a little toolbox because my mom said when I was a kid, all your tools have to stay in that toolbox. Okay, so all my paints, my thinner, my Tester's cheap paintbrush, and my X-Acto knife that cost $1 or something back then, and I got one with 5 blades, and I made those 5 blades last. It's just you do what you got to do, but over time, you learn. Okay, those first kits aren't gonna look great, but you had fun doing them.
Yeah.
In 1985, Tamiya released the Enterprise, that kit up there, and I lost my mind. I was a 21-year-old kid going, "Holy crap, that's cool!" And I had been building models before that, but up to that point, that's when I first started getting really serious about it. I saved up my money working, and I went out and I got the kit, and it was over $100 back then. In '85, that was a lot of money. But holy cow, the summer of '85 was bad and good. Bad for multiple health reasons. Great in that I spent a summer building probably the kit that got me on down the serious path out of doing it as a kid. So it's not about things. It's about the passion for the hobby. And once that fire is lit, then you just roll with it.
Yeah, roll with it. Yeah,
you make a really good set of points there, and I just wrote down 2 words. You've done one of them, which is interest. You have to have an interest. You have to want to do it because you think it might be a good idea to replicate something in miniature. The other thing it's good to have comes from somebody else, and that's encouragement, and that is someone bestowing courage upon you. Now, as a young man, as a young person, that comes from your parents, who they bestow the courage upon you to do this, and it then goes from there. It becomes self-fulfilling, and to attack the point made earlier, not to attack it, to make reference to it. Attack is not the word I wanted, so I'll be quiet with that one. But to make reference to the point earlier, it's amazing how much you can do with a very minimal set of things. Glue can be used to glue together bits and pieces, but it can also be used as a filler just as equally.
Oh yeah.
And there's all sorts of things you can do, and there's nothing better than the inventive mind of a youth when they have an interest, or an adult come to that, frankly, and I'm cunningly disguised as an adult, I know. But there's nothing better than the inventive mind of somebody to come up with a solution when you're doing this on your own, which is what happens when you start doing this. I think it's a solitary thing, and then you realize that there are stacks of other people around you that have a similar hobby, and you start to learn from them. I think that that's what makes this an enduring and interesting hobby, and one that's so worthwhile talking about, not just on a Monday night, but on other nights of the week as well.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. There's some really good comments there, which I thought was interesting. The biggest barrier, I think, for some, if not most, is comparing yourself to others at the start, especially when you're looking at what you have available to you. And I was trying to make that point. You know, I love, as I said, this marquetry it's called, where people do veneers with wood, and some of the stuff I actually buy it and sell it if I see it, because there's a real art to it. And I had a go about 20 years ago, and I actually could never get the joints to butt. And then I realized after watching a YouTube clip that it's the way you cut. You have to get a special blade, which is gives you a flat face, and the arrows, and then you cut, and you follow the grain and everything. It was very interesting, and the fact it looked crap, but the actual finishing is actually just sanding it on top to blend the fibers together. It's so interesting. But yeah, I think I'll stick to scale modeling because I've got all the kit for doing it. So, but yeah, there are those hobbies that you aspire to be that good, but you won't. It's all practice. Look, when someone knits a jumper, there's only one knit, one purl, one drop one, and then as you get into it, you start learning to develop the other skills of knitting and stuff. So, and just this one comment here from LWM Modeling. Nice to see you, my friend. When I came to the hobby 2 years ago, there were a lot of creators telling me that certain tools from certain companies were must-haves. Made me feel that my mistakes were my fault for sticking to a budget, and unfortunately, I don't think they mean to do it, but I do see your point.
Yeah,
I do.
I was going to comment on this actual message, because I bet you those people who are saying you must have those tools used to use budget stuff when they started.
Yeah,
and they wouldn't have been any better than newcomers into the trade.
Yeah,
go on, Jim.
It's not coming from. I'm sorry, John. It's not coming from a place of. They're just trying to help you.
Yeah, true.
Don't look at it like, oh, my stuff isn't good enough. And to the previous comment before that about, and it's kind of the same thing. Don't compare yourself to other people. You're new at this. Part of the problem, a lot of new modelers today, younger, more used to instant gratification, and they see things and they want to produce what guys have been doing for 40, 50, 30 years, and you're just not going to get there. So it's that part of it. But no, don't compare yourself to anybody. If somebody gives you a critique or gives you a suggestion, it's not out of anything other than trying to help you. Hey, try this tool. It'll help you because it'll makes this job easier. The side nippers, and then the way they didn't go into it. Explain the way they cut, separates, which cuts down on cleanup and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, they're pricey. I get it. If you can't, afford them right now, then get good with your X-Acto knife with trim it or offer other alternatives. But I don't think anything in this hobby in particular, people are coming from a bad spot. It could be like anything, how something is said and then how something's perceived or taken can be entirely different, and the whole point's missed.
Yes.
And I think that's what happened there.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, that's very important. I get that. Go on. Who's speaking then?
No, don't worry. It's all right.
No, as I said, it's as I said, we're chucking stuff into the wind, and hopefully something will get pushed back on us. And that's the idea of just going through the. I think a lot of excuses are made, and there is that fear. It's like when I built that tractor, I have never done chipping before. And I spent a lot of time getting that tractor to a place where I wanted it. And the fear was, I'm going to balls this up if I don't get it right, chipping. But it was one of the easiest techniques I've ever done. But don't get me wrong, I've spent hours watching the likes of LPJ Models and Sully, people like that who do chipping and weathering effects before I jumped into that. And I think that's the fear. And somebody put a comment up, and I'm just going to try and find it again. That's right, James, perfect, mate. I found that when I came back into it, I was more drawn to the subject than the complexity of the kit. and learnt my lesson to relearn with something simple and work my way up. If you watch Mike's mini art builds, that's complex. You know, that coach that you did, complex.
Yeah.
You know, but you've built yourself up to a place where the mediums have changed so that you're not just using plastic. You've got the photo etch, you know, and so, you know, one engine coming as a block, you've had to build that engine up with 6 or 7 pieces. But I think that's where you know, where you've got to learn your level. And unfortunately, I know people say look at the skill level on the side of the box. They don't necessarily represent what you're going to get skill level wise inside a box either. You know, it could be an old tooling that will have, but just build it. That's my encourage. You know, if anyone wants to jump into it, just build. If it goes wrong, remember your next build will be better than your last build because you're learning something. And if it's something you don't understand, I think we're in a society now where search is king. You know, people don't realize that YouTube is the second biggest search engine in the world now because people use YouTube to search to find an answer to a problem. And you know, and you know but you know, and that's how it looks. But yeah, I see it all the time. You know, I see people, they, you know, pick up a Titanic. You think
that's because pictures speak 1,000 words, so Moss. So people look
Yeah.
at videos and they realise, oh, that's how you do it, rather than trying to interpret what somebody's written down.
Yeah.
I think a big part of it as well is people psych themselves out when they see complex instructions. They forget that no matter how good you are, you're still doing it one step at a time. You're not doing the whole book at once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think what you said before, Moss, I think is quite important because people who have come back into the trade now, they weren't building kits the way they were designed now 15, 20 years ago. And you've got to re-familiarise yourself with the tools that you need to build the models now. And things don't go together in the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're unsure about buying kits as well, you can always buy them from model shows. You can buy second-hand ones that are already done up or started, or you can find a real cheap kit, do it, and if it's no good, bin it. And go on to your next one.
Well, Alt 92 said, basic arts and craft skills, the stuff you used to learn at school was sanding, filing to fit items. I wonder if that's still taught.
No idea.
Well, it wasn't, somebody did an article about surgeons used to build scale model kits to get the dexterity to with their hands.
Interesting.
You know, interesting thought that. You know? Some of those to consider, it's not always the cost of getting into modelling. Some people have a disability that hinders them from modelling, like getting to the shop and getting the basic stuff.
Good point.
Yep, totally get that. That's a very good point. Yeah, I do get that as well.
It needs, the biggest thing I see.
Yeah. It needs to be fun. We all have kits we started and stopped as it stopped being fun. It is a hobby after all. Yeah, golf is mine.
This goes back to what we were saying. This goes back to what we were saying the other week about how you don't have to necessarily, or at what point is a kit classed as finished? Is it finished when you think it's no longer fun, or is it when you've finished the last instruction, or when you've done a certain amount of weathering, or what?
Yeah, I think it's finished.
It's all down to personal taste at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's your canvas, right? When
Everyone's
is a painting
different,
done, right?
Go on, John.
It's done when you stop painting it.
Yeah. Well, that's it. You know, the instructions don't tell you how to paint, how to finish it. The instructions tell you how to put it together.
It's
give you a pen,
finished, right? It's your canvas, it's your model, it's your hobby. When you think a model is done, when you want a model to be done, it's done. It's your hobby.
At the end of the day, it's about having fun and learning a new skill. If you can learn one new thing whilst doing that model, then you've done well.
Yeah.
Can call it what if.
But that's the thing. It's like I always admired the surface detail of a kit. And I always wondered how they got the shades, with the darker and the light patches. And I watched a video. There was Nigel, black basing, and then highlighting with white, and that changed the game for me. When I do tanks and planes, I end up spraying everything all black, highlighting the bits of white, different shades of white, translucency, and going through the shades, and then spraying on top of that. Totally changed the game. But I don't think I would have done that with a hairy stick. And that's the basics, build the model and you paint it, and then everything else comes along. And you will find yourself at one point in your career as a scale modeler that you don't really buy kits, but you end up buying the next best thing when it comes to a scale model tool or a scale model paint or a scale model, weathering stick or something like, so I do get that. Richard Carpenter says, I knew nothing about filling gaps, etc. And I thought that mode lines were supposed to be there when I started building, but I had fun though. That's it. You're not putting models into competitions, are you? You're building models for yourself, and if you've built it and you've gone through the instructions, you've painted it up, and you can look at it, you can say quite clearly with pride, I built that.
Yeah,
in it,
absolutely.
So,
yeah,
I get all that. Young modelers starting out need an adult. They cannot buy most of the tools and glues due to age restrictions. That's very true. Yeah. That's another point that could be a barrier. Your age, but I think. When do kids start scale modeling?
This is what I was about to say. The only thing I know of proactive kids getting into it tends to be through air cadets or those sort of societies.
Yeah.
It's very rare, for example, in schools. It's now, because of the subject matter more than anything, you tend not to see it. I mean, most of the times when you bring your toys in day or whatever, you'd see more like Lego and that, which is still good. It's still construction. It's still plastic in some way. But there's not the... certainly from like my generation down, so that's 2000 onwards, it's very, very much the case. It's unless you go to like air cadets, army cadets, anything like that with a military background, or you have grandparents normally or parents that you'd actually, be exposed to this sort of stuff. There isn't the mass marketing that Lego can do on a kids channel, for example, that Airfix could match. And so for kids, the exposure now is a lot less than what it was, say, even 30 years ago, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. Lego's a great tool for starting children on manual dexterity and learning to manipulate smaller objects. And very small kids start off with that very chunky Lego, don't they? And then then they graduate onto the smaller blocks that are about this sort of size, and they're putting them together, and they realise that if you do an interleaving brick formation, it's stronger. So they understand and learn the basics of that. Lego's great because it requires a degree of imagination, and there's nothing wrong with that. But then scale modelling is a natural progression on from that, because finishing a model requires imagination as well. And where do kids start? I would suggest they start with a model in their minds about what they then create when they're applying paint. Their first efforts will be halting and not very good. And this is where the encouragement comes in. But their next efforts are better. And if they have the interest and they see an improvement, an incremental improvement, that's where the interest comes in over the next 20 or 25 years. And then when they get to my venerable old age, they become collectors of tools.
Yeah, exactly. That is it. You should see. It's a disgrace. The stuff that I've bought over the years I've never used. It's shocking. Yeah. You're a rider, 44. access to a model shop. I was going to quickly bring into this because this is another point I was going to raise. Access to a model shop is important if you are a kid without the credit or debit card to order online. Back in my day, it was all cash or money order. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Let's lay it on thick. I got into scale modeling because my mother worked for a company that produced railway accessories. Okay. But also there was a newsagents, and the newsagents had on their shelves Matchbox and Airfix scale model kits at a newsagent. There is one newsagent that still does this in Minehead. So if you want to go on an adult weekend to Butlins, there's a place called Friday News. It's a newsagent. He's an old boy. I've done a video on it, by the way, if you want to look at my channel. Friday News, newsagent, and it's good old-fashioned pick and mix, grab your newspapers, grab your chocolate bar, grab a scale model kit. I understand when people say you need to have a model shop. Just have the kits available in shops. And I think Airfix are pushing that a bit more now, because I went to a gift shop in Cornwall and they had a display there of Airfix starter sets. And the woman behind the store said, Joe, we keep them in stock because we have a lot of caravans and mobile homes down here.
Yeah.
And a lot of parents will come in with their kids, see that Jaguar starter set, pick it off the shelf, and they'll take it back to their caravan and build it.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? I don't think necessarily it's model shop. It should be that where can you buy? You know, I go to a post office, and in the post office they have a range of puzzles, and you know, they're called jigsaws. You know, and they have all these little things. But what a great place! You know, if you're in a holiday village or a place where there's lots of, you know, caravans and mobile homes and stuff. You know, they should have shelves there with starter sets. It was Revell or Airfix or even Hella, who now produce kits. They release the kits twice. They release it as just a plain plastic kit, or they come with the paints as standard. I think that's where that should be. You know, give somebody an eye. Oh, look at that! That's a car. Let's build it. And I think that's why the starter sets have quite a few cars in their range, not just the Spitfire and a Tiger tank. So that's just one thing. I'm just saying, you know. That's how I feel. I'm planning to build a Mark 1 Spitfire from Tamiya to compare it to the Airfix starter Spitfire I completed last year as my first. Which actually brings me on to another question. Okay. Scales. What is the perfect scale for a starter? Now, you can have 1/72 scale kits, but the parts can be quite fiddly and hard to handle for newcomers. But the larger 1/24 scale kits are hundreds of parts.
Yeah.
Where's the balance for a starter? Somebody that's to scale modeling.
It can depend on your eyesight. If your eyesight's not very good, or you wear glasses like most of you guys do, small parts are hard to see. I mean, I know that now because I've got to that age where my eyes are starting to go a little bit, and I've given up with 1/72 scale models. I've gone on to 1/48 and higher. I remember that personally. So, but back in the day when I was a youngster, 1/72 scale was ideal because it fitted on the shelf.
That's why I do 1/72, because I saw that I can get on the shelf.
Yeah.
I did 1/72 back then. I'm still doing 1/72 now. Like, even though we're different glasses.
I'd say for aircraft, 72nd is definitely the perfect scale. But then if you look at armour, I'd actually say 35th is. Give anyone sort of, I used to call them the 15 quid Tamiya kits, you know, the older toolings that are cheap as chips.
Yeah.
That perfect size, that's very malleable for most people's hands, regardless of age. But if I was being really facetious, I'd say your favourite kit mods of the 1/1200 Sink the Bismarck gift set. Perfect. Tiny little ships. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I've had some I've had some feedback about that. Yeah. It's what it is. It's just what is it the scale modeler wants? He just wants to put a model together, isn't it? Where if you're starting in this hobby, you just put a model together, and link and length track you wouldn't give to a beginner, but rubber band you would, as long as they understand how to attach them properly around. I still think 148, the Tamiya 140. I'm getting into them. Bloody the Boldly Go's got me into these 148 Tamiya kits at the moment because I just built. I've done a video on it. The 148 Cromwell.
Yeah.
What a delightful little kit. The length track is a bit of a pain in the ass, but what you get for 15, 20 quid or whatever. I thought that 148 was brilliant. I would put paints and glue with that and say, here you go, have a go with that one. There are some tiny bits to it, obviously, but it just fits together lovely. And I think you could fit it together using the thicker cement as well.
I think basing what kit you're going to buy as a beginner on the scale is a bit of a false economy anyway, because you can get, like with Army, you can get 135 MH Mark IV tanks. They've only got 40 parts, but they're pretty good kits. But then you can get the TACOM kit, which has probably got about 200-300 parts.
Yeah.
But it's the same scale.
Yeah.
And it's a lot
That's
more
what
fiddly.
I mean. If you notice, you don't get levels, do you?
No.
On the side of Japanese and Chinese kits. That Panther that John built, is it the Panther you did or the Jag Panther?
The Jag
John
Panther,
Allen.
the one that you brought on your channel. Yeah.
Yeah. Bloody good kit, innit? Would you give that to a starter? Because I would.
You could.
Yeah.
I mean, you could. There are elements of that kit where you need to know how to process, a metal turned barrel so that you can paint it and have it stay painted, right?
Yeah.
The tracks.
The way they've done the wheel and the tracks on that kit are sublime, aren't they? They're very, very.
They go together really well.
Yeah. Because it's not 24 wheels, is it? There's 3 banks of 4, isn't it, on each side?
Exactly. Yeah.
Easy.
It goes together really well. That kit.
Yeah.
It's a great kit. Great value for money.
Yeah. What was it? Oh, there's a comment there. Where's that comment gone? Yeah, I bought a load of tools, but most of them I don't use. But yeah, you've got them because one day you will use them. I promise you. Or you hope to use them, don't you? Making a mistake is natural, and how you learn. People are too afraid to do that. I agree. But what would be the perfect scale then? Is it about the price of the kit? Is it part count? Is it skill level? What would you look at for a kit to give to somebody who was going into the hobby?
I'd be honest with you when I say I honestly think it's whatever the person who's buying it in the shop can find amongst the range that they think is suitable. And my first kit, as I recall, in the mid 18th century, was the 1600 HMS Daring. And I recall it had a lot of quite small parts, which became liberally encrusted with glue. But it was, that was what was available. And it was mainly ships in those days, I think. But it's what's available. It's whether it catches the interest of an individual. And a parent can see that really pretty quickly. If you use Lego a lot, if you use Lego more than once, you're probably going to be interested. If you use it a couple of times a week because you like building things, then it's a fair bet you're probably going to like assembling something else. And it then becomes a toss-up about whether you give that person a balsa wood aeroplane, a starter kit aeroplane made out of balsa wood, or a plastic kit. Probably a plastic kit's where to go. But look, I mean, it's what's there, it's what's available, I think, in some sense, and that makes the choice, I think, pretty easy for people.
If it's a parent taking a child out to a shop, a model shop, and get the child to choose give them some ideas of what they can choose or what they can have, like sort of price range. Or if it's somebody you know, take them into a shop yourself, let them choose a model themselves, buy it for them.
So did I, Nigel.
I was 5.
I was around the same age.
I was 4.
Sam, they're saying the last couple of 135th tanks I've done, I've rattle can sprayed all the sprues prior to building, rattle can them after build, then brush painted the other parts. Yeah, I've said this before. If you want to go to your next step, between using the paintbrush to an airbrush, a rattle can is a really, really good stepping stone.
Yeah.
And I was talking, if you look at Matt for Model Minutes, he never airbrushes primer on his parts. He uses the rattle cans. So if that's your next step, rattle can is a really, really good step towards learning about airbrushing. But then you've also got the fact, but also on that side of it, you've got the Bosch and health and safety to look into as well, because you can't do it in your house. You've got to go outside. Ventilation is key. So that's another question: was can workspace limitations stop people before they even open a box, especially in small apartments and homes?
Depends on the size of it.
I would say no.
No.
But here's the thing. It's all what you make of it. How much do you want to do this hobby? I grew up in, I guess, what you guys call a caravan. My whole life, I always lived in a mobile home. The one place I could do it was on my tiny little desk in my room or out on the kitchen table that had to be packed up. And again, my little tiny fishing tackle box and everything had to be picked up and moved. Okay. So you make the best of whatever situation that you're in. If you want to do this, you'll find a way to do it with whatever resources that you have. It goes back to the passion of getting into it and getting the start and going, wow, this is cool. This is fun. And then the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah.
I mean, I never had tables. I just used to use a bloody tray on the sofa.
I was going to say, dinner tray was the same for me.
Me and my brother used to sit on the sofa and build kits together, with trays.
Mm-hmm. I used to, because for me I used to work off the dining table with a Sun newspaper with the page 3 ripped out of it. Do you know what I mean? That's what I started. You know what I mean?
I wasn't trusted on the dining table because with the tools and that. So I was a bit like John. I was stuck on a tray table, but it was, what was it? One of the ones that I would describe as having like a bean bag underneath. So it was really well supported on your knees and that. But that's all I was allowed for probably the first year or so. Because even the dining room table, that was too precious. And I know we talk about health and safety jokingly, but even then, my mother at the time was like, you're not spraying in the house. You're not cutting on the dining room table. You are not going to do anything like that. If you want to do that, you go outside.
Yeah.
Well, I never saw an airbrush until I was about 15. Everything was brush painted. Both me and my brother, we used to sit there and just brush paint, watch telly.
I still do.
Swap shop and all sorts,
Still do. I've got an airbrush, but I've not used it for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So then, when you gents, when you say use the paintbrush, I'm the same. I started off with the hairy stick.
Yeah.
When was it that you realised that the paint was too thick, and then you realised that you could thin it down with water? Because I was never told that. I used to think my kits looked bad because of the paint job, but the only paint I had available was the paints that were in the newsagents. Or
I'll be honest with you, Moss. The first time I went to a model show and saw what paint's supposed to look like, that's when I realised I was doing it wrong. And you just start asking questions to the people that present the kits at the model shows, and then you learn from that as well.
Yeah.
But I used to brush paint kits, and the paint was like emulsion.
Yeah. I also thought, because enamel was big back in the day.
Yeah.
And I never realised that white spirit would thin paint down, or that white spirit would actually, because I used to use a brush and spend all day with that brush, and then I would throw it away because I didn't know how to clean it.
Mhm.
You try it under, oh yeah, don't get me wrong, yeah, the washing up liquid and everything, yeah, I get all that. But in all hindsight, you could spend an hour cleaning it with washing up liquid, but next day you get back, it'd be hard. Or what I would used to do was get that paintbrush and then wrap it in cling film to make sure that the paint didn't go off and make it hard. So things like that, it's the little things, isn't it, that they don't tell you inside the box. Because as I said, all the instructions will tell you is what colour to paint it and where the parts go. Because that's the job of the box. Or the job of that kit is to give you a model that become your canvas. How you paint it is then left up to you with the advice and the knowledge that you still have. So maybe, is that not an assumption to...
There were a couple of companies. I mean, Revell in the early days and Frog certainly used to give hints and tips in pictorial fashion on their instruction leaflets, and they were really helpful.
Yeah.
But again, I think this calls back to a reason why physical shops are important, or at least having someone or people for a place of advice, because like you say, most manufacturers don't put on there, bin your paint, do it in this ratio, do it in that ratio. That is literally information that's handed down. But also I think it's, on a broader point, makes it why societies are very important, and that, they could also be seen as a barrier to entry to some extent, societies. I mean, that might be another whole different discussion, but also they're really good use and resource of how do I do things, what do I do, what's the experience, guys, and you need people. You need people in this hobby. It's a hobby made up by people, and it's only by communicating do we actually get the best out of it. And the basics of, by the way, your thin enamel paint, I didn't realise till I was, I think, about 13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see. This is my point. I understand that people have this affinity to a scale model shop, and I love a scale model shop. If I go to anywhere and I look on Google and I find a scale model shop, I will go there, have a nose, have a look, talk to the owner, buy some parts or paints or whatever, anything like that. I'm all for that. I think I learned more from joining a scale model club than I ever did learning from a scale model shop. Is that a harsh critique?
I think that's pretty.
No, I agree with you. Definitely.
Pretty fair.
Is that a fair stop? Because I think that a model club, and the beauty about the model shop is there to sell you a kit and to sell you the things to make you build a kit. But the model club is where the experience is at. And the beauty with the model club is that everybody has their own niche.
Yeah.
We've got a bloke who's been building for 2-3 years, and his blankers and his Russian aircraft are out of this world. And I'm going to be building some Russian aircraft, so don't unsubscribe because I've said that. But I will go to him for any advice, or as Arnold Schwarzenegger would say, advises on how he does his kits. And then you got a bloke called Dave, who inspired me with my tractor, because he can weather a tractor. Oh boy, weather a tractor. I think if you're going to be serious in a hobby, whether you're going to learn photography, it's to join a club. Same as if you're going to learn to play golf, you would become a member of a club. And I think it's there is where you hone your skills more than what you would get info from a scale model shop. Now, they'll probably be on somebody else's video because I've said that now. There'll be a bloody topic on it or something. But I really do feel that. I've been thinking about it because, I got hammered because of my thoughts on scale model shops and how we've all changed in our approaches on how we buy kits and paints and everything. And there is a place for that. Brett's here as well, because I was going to ask Brett about it, how he sees it. Is the model club the place to hone your skills, or is it the model shop?
It depends on the shop and the club.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, when older people started getting back into modeling or started getting into modeling, they'd come into the store and I'd ask them, how much do you want to spend? What subjects you're interested in? How much space do you have to work with and display your models? Then I would get them into a kit and the tools that met all those criteria, because I had the range of tools from beginner to display, and I'm not going to give a beginner a display set of tools. So I would get that going. Plus, where I live in the mountain areas, there aren't a lot of clubs to be part of.
Okay.
So I had weekly classes in the store, airbrushing and building and dioramas and things. So I was the kind of shop that created and brought the people together. Plus, I was there guiding them in the right direction.
Yeah.
They'd go on YouTube after I sold them the initial kits and sometimes lose their confidence because, well, I can't build this the way they build it. So I'd be there to talk them into, it takes time, take practice. If you have questions, ask. If you have a model shop that's only there just to make money, then of course you're not going to learn crap from them. You're just going to give them your money. So it depends on your situation. Because I have the love of the hobby, I want people to be happy doing it and not selling them the stuff to make the most money.
Yeah.
This is what you need to get started. When you get going, as you get older, you're going to buy all the tools you want anyway, just like, with guys who rebuild cars, they're going to spend money on tools as they need them, and they're going to be there forever.
Would it not make sense for you then, if there isn't a model club in your area, wouldn't it have been made more sense for you to create a model club based around your shop?
I did. It's called High Altitude Modeling Society is what we called it.
Fantastic.
But there's still you got to get them to want to come to that.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry,
go on, Zane. No, you crack on, Zane.
This is one of those things which is a bit of a hobby horse of mine, and I've seen this in retail where it's been done spectacularly well, and that is what Brett's doing is developing a relationship with his customers, and he's adding value to what he's doing. It's so vital in retail. Retail is not simply about selling it as cheap as you can get it, It's about a particularly model retail. It's a specialist business. And all of the best retailers, in my view, are the people who they have a relationship. They know their customers. Their customers know that they can walk in there and be welcomed. And when they walk out of Brett's shop, they have the knowledge in their heads that they've just spent some really good time there. It's been really useful. You know what I mean? Yes, they may have bought something, but they've spent useful time there. That's why I absolutely applaud people like Brett who have a relationship with their customers. Brilliant. Well done. Bloody good for you.
You don't get that in many model shops.
And it's a huge mistake for model shops not to do this, in my view. As I say, it's a hobby horse of mine. And I'm not going to get any more animated about it than that. But I've seen specialist retail done really properly well, and it's when you have a relationship with your customer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can add. I am one of Brett's customers.
And
he is fantastic, right? He always makes sure, is this the one that you're thinking about? And there's this and there's that. And he gives a lot of feedback. There's a lot of back and forth before there's a final, that's it. Let's do that. So
I'd be a customer of his too, but it's a long way to come, I'm afraid, Brett. So.
But it's difficult. it's difficult putting Tammy extra thin through the airport security, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
I think they'd probably get a bit tetchy about that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they would.
You know,
my nephew cares nothing for military stuff, but he loves cars, and I've bought his first kit to build with him. Actually, we'll each have the same car. Yeah, I've got a friend who's just had a baby, and the first kit the baby's having is an Airfix starter set Spitfire. you know, that's it. So I've got to get one sorted this week for that. But yeah, it's as I say, I wasn't trying to be detrimental. I'm just saying that when you get into a hobby, a club is vitally important. In any hobby.
But
I don't think you play golf unless you're part of a club. And I think that mentality, but I don't put a lot of people email me. I'm not bragging or nothing. I'm quite humbled by it. And people say that they treat Monday nights as like their scale model club because they'll be working on the bench, listening to us chat about scale models. And if they've got something to say, they'll post it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I'll say to counter that, Moz, is whilst I think clubs are very, very important for furthering on, do I want to do this? Do I want to do this as a hobby? That initial decision to buy the product is always normally based on your own research, or if it's a good model shop, like Zin says, that they are able to advise you properly and make you feel welcome. And that's where I think the model shops of old and current, if they're still in bricks and mortar, are so important. And you'll even still get that if you go around the shows with the traders. You can say, I'm new to the hobby, what can I get? They'll point you to something sensible. They won't go, by the way, buy this brand new tackle kit, like Brett says, with display, tools and everything. They'll give you sound advice because they want return custom.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I get that. I do get that as well. Which brings me on to the question. I think it was Richard Might sent me. In an aging hobby where the average modeler is older, how much does the lack of visible young beginners or modern marketing make newcomers feel like they're entering a dying or niche club rather than an accessible pastime? Bit deep, that one, isn't it?
Is it?
We're all just really old.
Can I make a little point about this before we start?
Yeah.
Back in the day, there were probably about 10 model companies in Europe that were producing kits. How many are there now?
Yeah, too many.
There's such a choice, and the range is phenomenal. I don't think modeling is a dying thing. I think it's just more choice.
There's a really, I think, point that might be worth making, which is that if you are judging how popular modeling is by the demographics that you see on YouTube, it may be you're leading yourself up the garden path here. A quick look at my demographics on that YouTube thing for my 20 odd subscribers will tell me that most of them are over 50. It may very well be that quite few much younger people make videos comparatively, but they may be making lots and lots of models that we don't know. The fact that, to bolster your point, Joffy, the fact that there are lots of model companies making a huge range of models in different areas would tend to suggest to me that the market itself is not actually dying.
No, I don't think it is.
Therefore, there's a whole new host of young people who may be in their 20s or 30s or 40s, whatever it might be, might think, I know, someone on the internet might look at my haphazard thoughts on this, that, and the other model. They might, the next Moss might be watching this on his little mobile phone somewhere. Hello, wherever you are. I shall be long gone by the time you put videos out, but that's okay. And in 30 years' time, might have 30-odd thousand subscribers and videos that 100,000 people watch, just like Moss does. That's just the way of things. I don't think the hobby's dying by a long chalk, and it's not dying due to people like Brett who understand what retail is all about.
Yeah.
I also think that if you look at the number of starter kits that are starting to flow on the market now, they all seem to sell really well, don't they? Is it the aged modeler that's buying them? I don't think so.
Apparently, the demographic is starting to slowly get younger as well.
Yeah, well.
But is that demographic based on what's happening with Games Workshop?
Well, we
because
don't know, do we?
that was the thing that got me was that whereas I build a model and put it on the shelf, whereas with Games Workshop you are building a model to play with in a game, and I think and I do see that as a point of entry into the scale model because it gives them a reason. It's like somebody was saying that Monopoly is played 10 times more on a mobile phone than it is on a board game because it's there, you're playing the game. So if you take the idea of you're building your tanks, you're building your figures on the mark of presenting your armies and producing the game with it, you know, that's something that's not lost on us who just build scale models as a static item or one use of showing it off. You know, it's not clearly lost on us because, you know, years ago people were painting up figures and doing wargaming with, you know, with enamels and, you know, and computer, you know, what they called, you know, metal figures and stuff. So it's that bit in between, isn't it? You know, that I've seen. And just saying, Rogue One, I've noticed in the comments, and myself included, that a lot of people are returning to the hobby after being away from years. I think that you can't guarantee on that in the future.
No, I don't have any.
Because that's what we didn't have computers back then. We know the telly was 4 channels, so you had to find a hobby to do. I don't think we can guarantee that. If we got, you know, get people young, but also I think it's more when the kids have left home, what can I do with myself? Oh, I'll get into a hobby. Scale modeling is the best thing. But get them before they get into go for fishing, and we'll save them 1,000. Like, you know, so.
And I think
but anyway, you were saying your point, by the way. Whoever was saying, say your point.
I was just going to say, I think certainly since 2020, with everything that was happening in the world, then scale modeling's moved more and more into the YouTube world, which is, you know, becoming a young person sort of domain as well. They're taking that up a lot more because they find technology a lot younger.
Yeah, that's it. I built Game Workshop models, but I never play the game. That's interesting. Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that the majority who build Games Workshop is for the game, isn't it? That's why they can charge incredible prices.
I had a look at some of these Games Workshop models, and a thing struck me about this is that with a Games Workshop tank, you know, these little tanks that they do, you're absolutely free to imagine whatever you want happening to that tank, whether in the whole lot. The world is your oyster. If you want to make a chieftain tank realistic, you can only really do a certain set of things to it. You're quite restricted. But with an imaginary tank, do what you like. Carry on. Paint it, you know, purple with yellow spots or something. You know, whatever you want to do. I think that's great. That's fantastic. That's a great way of going.
Yeah.
Well, it worked for George Lucas. It worked for George Lucas, didn't it?
Seems to have done.
Yeah. It's a shame Luke's not here, actually, because there was something I was pondering on with the Warhammer and 40k stuff. Is there a limit to how many armies you want to have if you're going to game them, which would then stop you buying more stuff, wouldn't it?
There's never a limit to it.
There isn't.
Depends how much of a demagogue you want to be.
I feel like limit your bank balance.
Yeah.
I just thought that if you had like up to 200 figures, would you want any more when you were playing them all?
No, you.
I need to get into it. I've never really. There's never the idea of, wargaming has never appealed to me. And it's just time constraints, isn't it? It wasn't a game lasts 4 hours, doesn't it? So. But then again,
I was gonna say, you see people sit at shows for 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but if you watch my video, the banter's brilliant. It flies. It absolutely flies, doesn't it? The time before you know it, you had your bacon butty. It's time to come back up and go home.
So, if you want to get your mind blown, Luke took me out to the headquarters when I was there for Telford in 24 of Warhammer.
Yeah.
And it's not my jam. I've done one figure and I put lights in it and I got ridiculed. Whatever. I had fun with it. But you walk into that place. Yeah. And even just as a modeler alone, you walk in there and you're like, holy cow. The level and talent in the figure painting and all the figures that are on display there of all the collections, and then all of the massive scale dioramas that are there that people have built. It's just, I mean, when you can walk in and you see a diorama that is literally 2 stories high that you have to climb a staircase up and then look down, and it's just, holy cow. I was like, oh, okay, I'll go, and you get there, and okay, it's a bunch of Dungeons and Dragons nerds, and okay, yeah, whatever, I'm the old fart. You get in there and you're like, wow. Just don't go, if you go in there with an open mind, holy cow. I can see where guys fall down the rabbit hole, guys and gals fall down the rabbit hole. And you don't have to be into the game. It's just cool stuff. You get to the gift shop, I'm like, okay, now I'm inspired. Now I see all these dioramas. Okay, I want to get this and this. I want to do this futuristic looking diorama of these things. And I didn't do it, but if anything else, it keeps your mind going. Especially for all of us old farts, except for Mike and Ben here, that need that, to avoid dementia. That's the fun thing about the modeling. I mean, you'll see something that inspires you, and the next thing you know, you read a book, or you go someplace to a museum, or you go to a historical place, and something clicks. Oh, I've got to get that piece or whatever. I got to get it in my collection. I've got to do it. And then you get all these grand plans in your head, and before you know it, you've got way too much.
Yeah.
I used to play Blood Bowl when I was a lot younger. That was a great thing to do on a Saturday afternoon, go to Games Workshop and play it.
The nearest thing I've ever done to it is Risk.
Oh, well, yeah.
It's the nearest
I remember Risk, right? And I had a lovely set with all the moldings and everything. And then my mate said, "Oh, we're going to have a game of Risk around my house." I went around there and all he had was like square and triangle bits of wood. I was like, "What the hell is this?" Like, you had to imagine. But my first fillet in wargaming and painting figures, and I think a lot of people will relate to this, was Hero Quest.
Oh yes,
it's what?
Hero Quest.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm too young to know what that is.
Yeah, you are probably. Yeah.
I don't know either, but
Hero Quest was the one. The guy on the front looked like He-Man with the sword and everything. And and I thought I was getting this kit in this game, but you had to paint all the figures. I thought they come painted. That was a bit of a blow. But yeah, Hero Quest was the one that I remember. How does the perception that scale modeling requires artistic talent, painting, whether in detailing, can create an invisible psychological barrier, even though many enjoyable builds are simple assembly with basic brush painting? Again, we've already kind of covered that really with people who go on YouTube and say, I'll watch a video on how this kit's being built. And then you watch a video and at the end of it, it's on a diorama with water and there's a pilot it's on fire. How does that make you feel when when it all when you first start scale modeling, would that be an invisible barrier, to and I think we've kind of said that it can put people off, but I think a lot of the youngsters, if they can't do it, they don't bother. Where when we were coding computers back in the early 80s on our Commodore 64, and you used to write out 900 lines of code and then it wouldn't work, you would delete that code and start again and try and work out where you've missed the comma and where you've missed the dot, if you know what I mean. That's another thing. Yeah,
on the ZX Spectrum, though.
Yeah. But do youngsters have that patience? If first you don't succeed, try again. Is that missing now in life, especially when it comes to building scale models?
AI's got a lot to answer for.
Yeah.
Use AI.
I think because I've got stepson that's 14. I think especially schools now, they discourage a lot of creativity. Even in art and things like that, they're just given a topic and they just copy it and that's it.
Yeah.
They're not taught, here's a subject, do your interpretation of it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Critical thinking and expressing creativity, certainly anything below GCSE, so 16 and under, was non-existent. It was read and repeat of it, what like Mike says. A level, you started doing that, but for me, educationally, it wasn't until at least university where I could go and express my own thoughts, be creative, be whatever. The system is just not built into that, and I even know people who did art at A level, and that was always based generally, apart from their final exam, on other artists and replicating their work. So if the art students who are meant to be literally the most creative out of any academic student are not doing it in schools, there's no hope for anyone else. And design and technology was taken away. That's very, very little of that is now done in schools. It's starting to make a comeback because they've worked out they need it, but there was a gap between about 2010 and probably about 2022, so 12, 14 years of it not being on the curriculum officially.
That's crazy.
That was the problem, Ben.
Yourself, isn't it?
Ben, funny you say that, because I was only talking to somebody just before Christmas, and he said that the curriculum couldn't fit time for design and tech, or CDT they call it, craft design technology, and IT. And in that period, so they cut down the time because they wanted you to do English, maths, your English, your language, your sciences. They want you to do all like the academic side of stuff, but actually learning how to, repair a rip in your trousers. And they had the IT coming in, and they kind of squashed that CDT back. Because when I was a kid, CDT was linked with IT. You would do your build a toolbox, but then you'll go on the computer and write up how you would build that toolbox, if you know what I mean. So it was all interlinked. But then because computers were becoming the forefront, they didn't want to lose times with the sciences and the maths and the English. They quailed that back. And at the end of the day, the one thing that's lacking in this country is hands-on. Now, you could, and I was always taught that the word academic was such a shit term, because that guy who's academic in maths, you ask him to hang a door, he probably couldn't. No. But you've got somebody who's academic in knowing how to hang a door, if you see what I mean.
Well, it's like, for example, most engineering graduates won't touch designing and planning or anything unless they normally they won't start until uni, because at A level, very few colleges offer it, because it's generally done as a vocational training on engineering and planning. It's not done as an A level. Unless you go to specific ones, and that has been a major problem. And like, I had to, as you say, pick between. I was either going to do triple science or DT, so design technology for me, and I had to choose the science. I couldn't choose the DT, even though I was really good in it and I wanted to do it.
See, I did engineering and stuff. But
go on,
my stepson's school, they've got rid of CDT. They got rid of textiles and home economics. and they've replaced it with stuff like religious standards and values and religious ethics and things like that, even though it's a non-religious school.
Yeah.
They're doing now
you just used to be able to make anything.
Well, they're doing twice as much religious education now as they are English or Welsh.
It's crazy.
I've got a friend who set up a business building flat pack. It's all the IKEA stuff. Because all these youngsters who are buying houses in their 20s,
they don't want to do it.
They don't want to do it. They'd rather pay somebody £45 an hour to go around and build. But I did it. That was one of my jobs when I left college. I did shop fitting, and I came away learning how to build flat pack, basically. And that's what I did. I was earning money doing that just on the side. But,
I mean, this will make you laugh, Moz, genuinely, is that I am of the age where I am still on dating sites and that. And funny enough, one of the biggest things of green flags is you can build IKEA flat pack furniture. That's when you know society's gone bad, where people go, "Can you build flat pack furniture?" Oh yes, you will make husband material. That's not good.
I was talking to a police officer a while back.
Yeah.
And as we were talking, I sat down on the bench on the footpath, and I went, "Oh crap, what's that?" And I pulled out a drill chuck key. I said, "Oh, it's a chuck key. I must have left it in my pocket from before." And he went, "What's that?" And I went, "It's a chuck key." And he went, "What does that do?" And I went, "What?" I said, "Have you never used a drill before?" And he went, "No." I said, "What do you do if you do DIY?" And he went, "I get my dad to do it." And I went, "You're a police officer.
Yeah.
You can't do basic skills."
Yeah.
Well, look at the average motorist who gets a flat, they call the AA out.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, but there's a reason for that. But there's a reason for that, Joffrey, because the bastards don't put a fucking spare tyre in your car anymore.
No,
they
I know
give you a
that.
bottle of liquid and a compressor pump, so you can't even, if you've got one that split the tyre, no matter how much gunk you put in that valve, it will never fill that hole up. That's something that needs to change in this country.
It is.
We've gone out and bought, we haven't got it yet, but the Nissan Duke doesn't come with a spare tyre. It's got the hole there in the back. Yeah. All it is filled with polystyrene with a bunch of glue or green stuff you put in on a puncher, which is out of date and gone hard, and a compressor. I had to jack the car up, leave it on its jack, and ride around to ATS to get a new tyre.
Well, the crazy thing for us as taxi drivers is we have to carry a spare wheel in the boot. And every time you buy a car, you've got to go and buy another bloody wheel.
Yeah, you got to buy a wheel.
It's just a joke.
It should be law. It should be mandatory.
You can
get a car off the side of you can get a car off the side of the motorway if the tyre's blown. You've got to be able. There's got to be a law.
But I said to a salesman once, "Why do you bother putting a jack in the boot without a spare wheel? What's the point? You're not going to jack it up to use the aerosol can, are you?"
No.
I think this is a standards thing and a legal requirement, and this is about the level to which car manufacturers can, if you like, in my view, exploit the law. There must be a means to reinflate a tire. There must be a means to either put a new wheel on, and these are the choices, And rather than saying each car will have a spare wheel, with a tyre and an inflation device and a jack and these things get watered down by manufacturers wishing to lower the cost of manufacture so that they can increase the price of their or increase the margin that they're making. Now, margin is not theft, and that's fine, but it's when a customer suffers as a result of a change, and that's where I start to have the problem with this. And my car's got a bloody pumpy uppy thing with a tube of nonsense, and I think it's a ridiculous idea.
Mine's got a space saver, mind you. Getting the subject back on track, how many car kits come with a spare wheel?
Well, that's another debate all told, because I was saying that why does the speedometer always show 56 miles an hour on your decal sheet when the car's stationary? Why is the handbrake up? Why is the handbrake always up on a car? You know what I mean? It's like always down. You know, we can have all of that, mate. You know, it's that's another. So I think we've done that. I think that was episode 22. I think it was of Airfix and Chill.
No,
you know, just one quick question. What somebody put up there saying that the right to right to repair is coming for the auto industry. Well, according to Matt Armstrong doing that Bugatti, it bloody isn't. You know what I mean? If you know who Matt Armstrong is.
I don't know.
But yeah, I know. But sorry, you was going to make a point then. Sorry, before I jumped in.
Yeah, I will say that in terms of spare wheels on cars, I've got an armoured car, one of those American ones that looks like a Humvee, and I think that's got a spare wheel on it. John Alec knows what I'm talking about because I think you made one. And I think it's got a spare wheel on it, and an MRAP, I think it's called, something like that. Yeah.
Have you seen where they put the spare wheel on a Range Rover?
It's in the dealer's locker, isn't it? In the back of the garage.
It's in the side. It's in the side
back of the car, underneath the boot, on the outside of the rear end of the vehicle. Yeah. Can you imagine trying to get that back, the one that's flat, back on the car?
Yeah, the Peugeot 405s used to do that years ago, and what used to happen was
the Puntos did as well.
The bolt that you used to have to undo to get the bloody tire off used to rust
but then
up.
you've got to lift the wheel back up while screwing that. You'll never do it.
Are you sure you just don't put the wheel in the boot
with one hand? Can you?
No, not sensible. Anyway, yes, but yes, spare wheels on model cars. Yes, they are there. Not always, but they are there.
Yeah. Right. So, going back to one more point that I was thinking of, as I said, I've got a load of points here that I've kind of digested over the past few weeks. What role does time commitment play to the hobby? Especially, you know, the builds taking between 20 and 100 hours plus, you know, spread over weeks and months, when modern life leaves little room for focused, uninterrupted hobby time. And I think that's one of the glories of becoming a scale modeler. I understand that when you're young and you've got kids 4 and 5 years old, and I think that's why people get back into the hobby, is because they do now have this free time. And also, like, I like watching films. Going to the cinema, I don't, right? I'd rather watch a film on the telly. And it comes the same with scale modeling. You know, if I've got free time, nothing, you know, I get excited thinking, right, I've done the dishes, I'm do the hoovering, I'm going to, what the missus is doing, she's going to go and watch Bridgerton, you know, or whatever. I'll come in here, switch on the camera, do a video, talk about scale modeling and build a scale model kit. And that excites, that keeps me going throughout the day, or jumping onto a live stream with somebody who's building scale models and talking about scale modeling. That to me is my mental health medication. And as soon as that door shuts, that's it. This is my room. This is my cave. But I'm very fortunate. And also, when the kids have moved out, you can then make that spare room into your model room, you know. So, I think time is a factor when it comes to scale modeling. You've got to dedicate your time. Right, I want to just bump. If not, you could have a kit on the bench like I have with that 1/24 Messerschmitt. You know, I just can't seem to get back onto it. You know, it's almost done. I've got, you know, all I've got to do now is do the undercarriage and the decals, you know, and this will be done. But I got excited when I opened up the box to this Cromwell. So that's gone to one side and I've built that Cromwell. You know, it's like, wow. You know, but then I've put time in my day to do this. You know, I'll say to my wife, oh, what are you doing tonight? Well, I haven't done a video in 3 days. I better do a video for YouTube. Or I'm going to be on a live stream on Monday. You know, she knows when I'm on a live stream now. She's pretty, you know, but she does her thing, playing violin, you know, doing her courses or watching a bit of Bridgerton, and I'm in here doing scale modeling. But if we had kids, or you know, that wouldn't really happen for me. I don't think.
No.
I'm old enough to do, you know, to distinguish my own time for my own self.
Yeah.
Whereas when you have got a family to raise, or you know, or somebody's ill in your family, so you having to spend time with that, I can see, you know, modeling will be at the back of your mind and on the front of your mind. Is that true with anyone else here? You know, when they started scale modeling, you know, it was all about But as you say, you started when you were a youngster, you used to come home from school. The Sega Mega Drive wasn't invented yet, was it? So you would go and grab a scale model, wasn't it? It'd build a scale model. You know, you know, the thought of girls and boobs never came across your attention, and alcohol wasn't even on the agenda because you were too young. What would you do? You get high on polycement. So, do you see what I mean? You know, time could be a factor when it comes to scale modeling. Many of your hobbies takes time.
You know, like back then, my weekends was taken up with modelling because obviously it's school during the week.
Yeah,
and I only had Saturday and Sunday to play with. But now I'm retired. I've got all the time in the world, and I'm happy as a clam.
Nice.
You know, when you were a teenager, Barry, what was the longest time you ever spent building anything?
Oh,
well, he'd go down to the rock quarry and chisel out some rock, and then he'd get out sorry.
The only one I can actually quote is one I did in 1998, and it took 3 months to build, and that was the Space 1999 Eagle, because I had to cut it all the bits in between the frets and the two lifting bodies.
Yeah.
It took 3 months to build, and I've still got it.
The longest project I ever had, I think, when I was a teenager, I built the Airfix Endeavour. I think it took me 3 weeks.
Good God.
That was a long time in those days to build a kit. You know, you'd build an Airfix kit in 2 days.
Well, I take about 10 days now because it's enamels. That's the Cessna Bird dog.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I started that one, was it last Monday or Tuesday? Because, like I say, it's enamels, so I do a little bit every day. Yeah. And because it's enamels, it takes time to dry.
Yeah.
So you do a bit, put it aside, do something else, come back, do a bit more. So the ones I've been doing this year have taken about 10 days to 2 weeks. And they're all old Series 1 Airfix kits.
Is that what you're doing? Right, the baggies?
Yeah, all baggies.
I've just finished a Wildcat.
Have you done any modern stuff, Barry, or are you just sticking to Airfix baggies?
Well, it's... I don't know, it's unfortunately, it was the vintage classics that got me into it.
Yeah.
So I was building it in vintage classics. Then as the years rolled past, there were subjects that I weren't really interested in, but there was a glut of cheap baggies on eBay. So I started buying them and building them.
Yeah. They're not cheap now, though, are they?
No, they're not cheap now.
Yes, was it last night? An original Airfix BTK Spitfire, 200 quid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the bomb bug 300 odd, it's like, you know, the Scharnhorst. You know, I finally got it back from Airfix because I lent it to them because they were going to release it in a vintage classic. So, you know, this is the original Scharnhorst, and I lent it to Airfix so they could look it over against the tooling that they've got. And as soon as I gave it to him, I realised, because that was 90 quid on eBay to 120 quid. I knew damn well that, you know, I've lost the value on that one now. You know, it's going to be, but, you know, it's, it's definitely like that. It's, but yeah, you know, times now, the price of it has just gone ridiculous. But you know, as I said, you know.
The good news is that they're releasing vintage classic kits this year that I want. So I'll have enough for next year to do nothing but vintage classics again.
I want that SRM4 when it comes out.
Oh.
I think you love building that, Moss.
I built it in the 70s.
It's got 4 little cars inside it.
Yeah, one of them was a Volkswagen Beetle.
That's the thing. That SRM1 is going to come with the transparent top to it as well, so you can have it. You can see
because
inside.
somebody up the club's actually building one, and I reckon he must be sick as a pig when they re-release it. I last built it in the 1970s.
Yeah, Series 5, isn't it? So it might be £25 or £30.
I think it's a bit more than that. I'm not sure.
What, the Airfix one?
Yeah, the vintage classic.
Yeah. So Airfix, shut up and take my money.
Yeah, I definitely want that.
I've got nowhere to display it, but I've got to build it.
Yeah, there's one on eBay. There's one on eBay at the moment for £100.
Yeah.
Or you can wait for them to release it as a vintage classic. It'll be 35 quid.
Yeah,
but
you get decent decals.
But what I keep saying, people say, 35 quid for a vintage
Have you
classic.
seen the kid who's trying to sell a 24 scale Hellcat and he still wants nearly £450?
Yeah,
they're releasing it this year.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with it. But going back, people were complaining about the price of that the SRN4 being £35 from Jadlam, 39, I think, on the Airfix website.
Yeah, it's like $50.
There's a huge chunk of plastic in that kit. It's not a small kit either, is it?
It's big.
There's quite a lot to it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. So
I mean, all the skirts on it. All the skirts are individual parts. It's not just one big part you put underneath.
Yeah. Then again, I've just looked at the price of that Bane blade from Games Workshop, £350.
Oh, yeah.
What is it? Is it a 135th tank? Is it?
It's gigantic.
Is it?
Yeah.
Or is it bigger than 135th? Is it like a 112 or something? Is it?
I don't know what scale it is. It's just
the
product itself is massive. Yeah.
Yeah. But, so
I mean,
you that are go on, John.
Those little Warhammer figures, right?
Yeah.
They're not that big, and maybe they're 10 or 12 pieces or something. They're like $45.
Yeah.
Right? For like I bought the one that was like Pestilence or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. You guys that are retired, when the kids left home, did you just jump back into scale modeling? Just looking at the likes of Jim and John there.
I can't remember a time when I haven't done this.
Yeah.
Even before my career, working up, going to school, working, then getting into my career. I've I've tried to make time for it, and now I've got a whole lot of time for it. So now the game's on, now my production goes way up. But
yeah. I just wish.
No, I was just gonna say, it goes back to that, what I was talking about to begin with. When you first get into this hobby, it doesn't matter what you have, just do it. And the passion for the hobby will grow from there and manifest into, where it's going to go.
Yeah. As I said, I think when I got my house. Yeah. I think as well when we bought this house, and I said she was going to have a room upstairs to make it into an office to do a yoga and stuff. I originally had the attic because we were going to make this into like an Airbnb sort of room, but I ended up going up into the attic. Then I realised the attic was always damp, even though I had like machines there, like what they call it, condensers and stuff, trying to keep it dry.
Dehumidifiers.
And also, there's nothing worse than going up and down those bloody ladders. We could have stairs to the attic. It was a set of ladders to get the ladders out, put them up. It was a right up. So then I came in here because this was my, as I said, we were doing eBay here as well. I was doing a lot of eBay in here as well. So then I decided to make it into, a workshop. Yeah. Originally it was had a proper bench in here to do woodwork and stuff, and then all of a sudden it just. The scale modeling got bigger and bigger and bigger. So I had shelves put up to put all my models, and now I've got 3D printers in here now. You know what I mean? It's just gone wild. But I don't think I would be doing this if I had children. My time after once I make me money in a day and I've done it all, I can come home and just potter about scale modeling or coming on and talking to people. And I think. Like, with the Martin, bless him, rest in peace, Martin, And I've met some of the most fantastical people in this hobby, the likes of you guys on Airfix and Chilled, the Model Club, people who write to me, talking about their latest builds and stuff. It takes time to reply to every single one of them, but I enjoy it because they're enjoying something that I've loved since I was a child. And yes, I stem from the railway side of things first, and building all the but that was the thing. It wasn't with the railway side of it. You weren't building trains, you were building wagons, and you were building the buildings and things for the dioramas and stuff. And then you kind of then think, I could do, at the time I was building 176 models to to put beside my lines, my train lines. So, and then it comes to that, then you kind of fall away from it because you end up going to college and learning a trade. Then you have to go out and earn, and then you get married, have a child, and then by the time you're 32, 35, and you're sat here thinking, what can I do in my time? And all it was a little Revell 144 kit that I got from a little toy shop in Keswick. And before I knew it, I was there building tanks and Spitfires, and then Airfix. I started doing YouTube because of just before COVID, and then I started to fall in love with the vintage classic range, and I was doing videos about the vintage classics, reviewing them, saying, and I think the beauty is that I have many Airfix kits upstairs that I've collected over the years, and Airfix things, but you can't build them because the decals are buggered on them. Yeah. But now you got the vintage classics where the plastic's coming back. But I tend to, if I want to, take the old kit off the shelf and nick the decals from the vintage classics to build it, if you know what I mean.
It's the best way, yeah.
It is the best way.
Yeah, I just, from my bad. Building baggies is half the time the decals are shot, so I have to get another set from a later boxing.
That's right.
Yeah, I still think Airfix could sell those decals for a tenner a time without even bothering with the plastic. People would buy those decals. I think they miss a trick, but I know they want you to buy the plastic. I get it, and also the instructions are that bit better. If you got a first edition of these, you got exploded view and a script to follow, which isn't a bad thing, but. I think Airfix could just sell decals. We got a kit, but they want to sell plastic. That's their. But if they sell the decals for £8 a time, they'll make a fortune because so many of these people have got the old kits, just want the decals for it. So
then they'd have to compete with Hannons, and
yeah, that's true.
You could always suggest it to them. Put them on their website.
Well, you're doing well there, mate. I've been married 2 times. I can say marriage affects modelling. Unless you score like me and have a second wife who loves modelling but not actually building them.
Is he looking?
I know. I'll tell you what, mate. Yeah.
He's a keeper.
Big style.
Yeah. I think. Personally, with me, my wife don't care. She's got her hobbies, I've got mine, and that's what keeps us fresh. She gets pissed off when I come back from a scale model show with another 5 models. You're not going to fucking build them, are you? You know what I mean? Well, you're not going to fucking build them, are you? They're going to put the fucking way.
I think if I was building models when I was married to my first wife, she'd have kept me in the bedroom like misery.
Your ankles.
Yeah, she'll put that brick between your wrists and give it a smack.
Touch that modelling knife and I'll hobble you.
Yeah. That's that. Yeah, I think that. I think that we have our own hobbies. She does her thing.
It's my drug too.
Yeah. And do you know what? I reckon if women. We must be the easiest people to live with, or at least by far.
Exactly where I am and what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly. You're not out there. You're not out there trying to score a cheeky digit or nothing. You're just at home in the room She knows where you are.
Right.
She can call you at any time if she's got a problem. And also, to buy me something, it's simple. She'll just go, "What do you want?" "Oh, I like that new Harder and Steenbeck Evolution. Oh, I'll get you that for Christmas." It's easy to buy for me. In fact, my family have realised that there's no point buying me Airfix kits, but they'll go and buy other kits like Tamiya's and all that. You know, they know what. So, and just wait until the flowers come out. I will say that my beloved here has said that she wouldn't mind having a go with those flowers.
Really?
Buy them.
Yeah. She paints. She paints acrylics on
And
canvas.
get another one of those little flies to put on it.
Oh,
Never has a video gone so well in the first week as 110,000 views on a video.
that's
Me and my mate watched that in McDonald's. We watched it together.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it, mate. As soon as I put that video up, it done about 4,000 views. I thought, oh, this is going to be 10,000. And then all of a sudden, boom. Every time I looked on my channel, I had gained another 30 subscribers. It was freaky. Yeah. It was 1,120 subscribers I got within 4 days, I think it was.
Bloody hell.
And the beauty is that video has only had one pop on the YouTube algorithm. Give it another couple of weeks, they'll put it out again to people and it'll rise.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that, you know, because I can remember building the Airfix bullfinches and using it as a build project for my YouTube channel, and I sent them to Frankie Day because it was just after his wife died, and I must have gained 100 subscribers in 4 or 5 days just off that video.
Wow!
And it's birds. So I think when you build something nature orientated, I think it crosses quite a lot of, paths, doesn't it?
Well, that's the thing. It's if you talk about a barrier to entry into scale modeling, what did Dale say? You know, he said, this is what he said to me. He said they'd done the research and people weren't interested in military models.
No.
What's the next best thing? Flowers. Right, let's get on. This is 4 years ago, by the way. 4 years ago. And then it come to
research.
Did you get you got the YouGov one, did you?
I got part of the invite. Well, it wasn't YouGov, it was a polling company.
Yeah.
Because they put an advert out for it. And I applied for it, and I got through. And I actually appear in the Hornby brochure with Francis Bourgeois. It's my what is it? My call to fame or whatever. Annoyingly, though, I did the interview in a Mercedes T-shirt, so now I'm forever plastered with a Mercedes Formula One T-shirt, even though I'm not.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's in the catalogue somewhere. But they did ask about what was it, and they were asking about flowers and other things in the hobby. And I think personally it's a brilliant move by Airfix.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah. And it's not, if you actually look at them, because I didn't, when I did the video on it, because that went quite quick, that got a few good hits as well when I did the video. And, you know, I noticed there were little bugs on it and caterpillars and whatnot. But like I said, you know, I've said to Dale on many of occasions, and you know I have when we've had him on here, get those birds out. Get those birds out. You know, they're just so expensive.
Yeah.
On you know, I think they've still got the tool in. I've not had it confirmed, and don't get me wrong. If you know, that isn't, you know, you wouldn't give those birds to a starter, and maybe that's the problem. If they put these flowers out and then they put the birds out, people have had the experience of building those flowers, won't have that same experience building those birds because they're 1960s, 1970s tooling, aren't they?
70s tooling, yeah. Are you sure they're originally Airfix tooling though, Moss? Because
yeah, they are Airfix tooling. Yeah, they are Airfix
tooling. They released them in the early 70s, didn't they?
I think they're Airfix
tooling. They released the robins, the blue tits, and the bullfinches. I don't think they released any of the others, so I think maybe the others were definitely Airfix tools.
Yeah.
But for a YouTuber, it's an absolute gift, isn't it? Really, because you can
Yeah.
make a video and you can call it, "Have you been looking at my bird?"
Yeah.
Dead easy.
Yeah.
What a nice
Airfix. I think Airfix should produce a rabbit as well.
Yeah.
Well, Revell produced back is in my I think it's in my rarest Revell videos, one of them. They produced a dog that came with fur, and you would build this plastic model up and then you would cover it in fur.
Yeah.
Back in the 50s. I think they're going in the right direction. I think they want to make this accessible to everyone. And it's good. It's absolutely good that they're doing it. Yeah, Tamiya dinosaurs are epic. But see, Airfix, I think Airfix are reluctant to release those dinosaur kits they've got because they're not accurate.
No,
what we know of dinosaurs now.
Well, I wouldn't exactly call the Tamiya kits accurate either that are out.
Well, the Tamiya Tyrannosaurus Rex it's hysterical, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah. What was the company that's done the Jurassic Park ones? Because I know the Jurassic Park ones are now not accurate.
They're resin. They're resin kits, so aren't they?
I don't know, are they? Someone told me they were injection.
No,
I thought they were resin.
No, it's the same company who's done the machine thing robot, like from the 1920s at Revelry boxing. I thought they were injection molded. I'm trying to think what the company was called.
I think Fenris built the Spinosaurus, and I'm sure it's resin.
Yeah, I have to look it up now.
Oh, is it X Plus, the company?
Yes, X Plus. I thought that was injection molded.
Yeah, so 135th Tyrannosaurus Rex is £136.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, so you can get all the 135th. So you can buy yourself some Tamiya figures to be eaten by a Spinosaurus or a T-Rex. Yeah. And it'd be accurate to a circa 1997.
Well, Limburg brought out the Jurassic Park Explorer, and on eBay now they're £107.
Yeah, but would you buy it at Limburg?
Or if anything, just go to Revell and get the 3D puzzle version of the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah,
they do a 3D present. But
I've got the Tamiya Brachiosaurus diorama, and that's massive.
Yeah,
35th scale Brachiosaurus.
I would love to talk to Bandai and ask them why they fell away from doing military stuff and ended up doing all this space stuff and everything. I'd love to know why they decided to pull out.
Sponduli, I would guess.
Perhaps they just went, because all this space stuff and Gundam and everything else over there is so big, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, also just think with Star Wars, for example, that is just licensed to print money, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what was it? That Millennium Falcon, the perfect grade, that's £400 a pop. And I mean, we had, when I worked in the shop, 5 of them come in, 5 went out in under 48 hours. I've never known a kit that will just sell that quickly when it came in every time. But people just love the Bandai stuff, especially the Star Wars.
I liked when I built some Bandai. I've liked it. It's very, very good. Anyway, right, folks, it's coming up to 10 o'clock. I've gone through quite a bit tonight. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me tonight. I hope it's not bored anyone too much talking about this stuff. But again, I keep saying, if you have any questions you want us to debate and talk about, please email me. The email address is in the About section. I keep a load together and I pick a few topics. And to be fair, it is getting harder. We've up to 170 episodes now. Is there anything we haven't discussed on this show? At least twice now. It's getting very difficult to come up with subject matter. So if you have a subject matter, just I think a lot of us here. I know we get a lot of questions on how do we do YouTube. Would that be a good show for anyone? Let us know in the comments if you want to talk about YouTube.
Yeah, maybe.
But, what cameras we use, what we do, advice. And the only advice I've ever given anyone is make sure the audio's good. Don't worry about the visual at first. Just make sure your audio's good, because nothing will turn you off any video if it's crap audio. Anyways, again, thank you, Simon. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, John Alec. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Joffy. Thank you, Zinzan. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Mike. And thank you, all of you, for watching. Anyways, take care. We'll see you next Monday.
See you guys.
Have a great rest of your scare modeling working week.
Bye.
Bye.